Hi, beautiful human. I'm Zach. That's Stan. And today we welcome to the studio for the not first time ever. He did come on the show, I think, 16 years ago because he's been doing this a long time and he's been in everything. But he's right now in one of my favorite shows. It's called Upload. You watch it on Prime Video. Link below. Say hello to Robbie Amell, everyone.
Hey. Thank you for having me. God, that made me sound old.
No, when you look at your resume, because I really educated myself on it this morning, really looked back and wanted to understand from the very beginning. You've been in a lot of shows, even if just for a season, a full season, or 3 episodes here, 2 episodes here. I mean, dude, I had no idea you were in Life with Derek.
Yeah, that was my first real job as an actor. My first ever job was Cheaper by the Dozen 2, but that was I had 2 lines. I couldn't screw anything up, and what a life-changing experience for me. But I mean, I wasn't an actor. I was a kid who didn't know what he was going to do, was playing hockey, happened to do commercials when I was a kid. My modeling agent got me this audition. I booked it, and it changed my life. I quit hockey and decided to pursue acting. But my first real job was Life with Derek. And I remember I booked it. It was 1 episode. It was the season finale. And my character accidentally goes into Casey's room, and we have this little bit of a flirty conversation. Then I leave, and then I didn't hear anything for so long because it was in between seasons, and I was like, oh, well, I guess that was cool. That was 1 episode. And I remember I was on the subway, and my agent phoned me, and I was in between reception, and I picked up the phone call, and I'm like, hey, hold on, I'm on the subway, I can barely hear you. And she's cutting in and out, being like, Life with Summer. I'm like, hold on. And I freaked out, and I got out. I'm like, what's going on? And she's like, they want you to come back for a whole season and be her love interest. And that was the thing that gave me the ability to actually pursue the career.
What do you realize in that moment?
So much of this business is luck and somebody taking a shot on you and right place, right time. And I just happened to be the guy for that, and it was so fun. The cast was great. It shot in Toronto, so it was a local job for me, but it was a Disney Channel show, even though it was technically Family Channel in Canada, but Disney Channel in the US. And that gave me, the ability to put together a little press package of all the outlets that had picked up this show and talked about it, and apply for my O1 visa, which is the first thing you get when you want to come here and be an actor, and gave me enough money to put aside to just come out here and couch surf for a pilot season and see if it was something I could do. But looking back, it feels like a bigger deal. At the time, it was just, here's the opportunity, let's try this, and if it doesn't work, I'll come back. I'll finish school. I'll
go back to hockey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't think that would have been. I thought I would get into sports medicine. I was going to study kinesiology and get into some kind of sports medicine. I don't know what. I
have so many questions. There's something in the water up in Canada too, and there's also something as it relates to how the government and the society chooses to treat performers and creatives up there. It's it gives people safety to at least take a shot and pursue it. Maybe
there is a lot of the government, and there's subsidies and funding for the arts programs. There's this thing called Telefilm, which was part of how we got to make Code 8, a movie we did in Toronto. And so there are things that help people and give them a chance to make these cool projects, but it's also just a smaller pond.
That's interesting. And people, you bring up Code 8, and I wanted to bring up Code 8 because of luck. You bring up, you learn luck in that moment and how much is kind of whittled down to it. But with Code 8, you choose to control your fate, right?
A lot of luck, though. My buddy Jeff, he and I always wanted to work together, and we kept having date conflicts and stuff getting in the way. And he did a movie that was presented to him one way, and it ended up being another thing, and he didn't love it. And he was debating going and selling real estate. And he phoned me and he was like, look, I want to give this one shot. I'll put 25 grand in, you put 25 grand in. I want to make a short film. You star in it. And I was like, what's it about? And he's like, I don't know yet, but it's going to be great. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And like, we had been friends for a while, and I knew his work and I knew how talented he was. And I was like, you know what? If I'm not going to take a chance on myself, why should I, expect anyone else to do that? So he worked on it with Chris Pare, his writing partner. They brought it back to me. I loved it. We reached out to my cousin to be the other lead. He was shooting Arrow at the time. He couldn't, so we got Sung Kang, and we kind of we met with him in L.A. We had a Corona with him, which was very Fast and the Furious, and he said he would do it. And that was one of those things where, again, right place, right time. It was before they changed algorithms of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and you could reach so much more of your fan base. And it was good. The short film was really impressive. It looked impressive for the money, and people jumped on it.
You crowdfund this movie, and you do it in a really creative way. And
Yeah.
you make people feel a part of it. From extras to producers.
Yeah, and like, we're still riding with these people. Like, we have events with them. We're launching something. What day is this coming out? This is the 25th. We're launching something very shortly after this episode will air in the Code 8 universe. And, I'm still friends with a lot of the people that I met through this, and we still use the same crew in Toronto, and they've all blown up, and our visual effects company is way bigger than us now. They're working on Wednesday right now and dealing with Tim Burton, so it's pretty wild.
Because breaking news, like the movie is a hit, and then it becomes a hit on Netflix, and then they end up taking you on for Code 8 too.
Yes.
And that changes kind of everybody's life.
Yeah, we got a bigger budget, but they still let us do it the same way. They were like, we want you guys to make this movie the way you made the first one, and they were great partners. And it's interesting, like, we wanted to include the fan base, but we didn't need money from them this time. So we just kept trying to do other things to bring them into this and include them. And people are still asking us how we can do something else, in this world, and it's been awesome. People have we've met some of them with Code 8 tattoos, and a bunch of the people who came, one of the days of shooting, we couldn't, on Code 8 Part 1, we couldn't afford to have, 150 background for this one scene. And people paid money to be extras in the movie, and they came in and did this crowd scene. And a bunch of them are now super close friends, and they have their pockets of group, they travel together, and it's very cool.
This has to be fulfilling to you on another level, right?
It's awesome.
Compared to anything else you've ever worked on.
Yeah, that Code 8 is super special to me. It's working with your friends and your family, and strangers coming together and help you make it, and the passion behind it. There was never a day that felt like work on Code 8, but it also was overwhelming and terrifying at first because we had to essentially create a store to fulfill all these hoodies and T-shirts. We didn't expect to sell $3 million worth of things, and yeah, we had to bring people in and hire them to create this pipeline of goods, and it's pretty wild, but it's really awesome.
Well, it's also genius. In that moment, you're doing two things. You're creating an amazing movie, a great universe, but you're also building this affinity and fan network. So wherever that movie goes and wherever the universe grows, you have an automatic pipeline of audience, Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny.
It's
a lot of the people that came in and were big parts of Code 8 didn't seem like Code 8 fans. They just, Code 8's a pretty sci-fi heavy movie, but we always wanted it to be sci-fi in the background, and you had to care about these characters and their relationships, and it was really interesting to see that people of all ages from all over the world, we did premieres in 12 cities across the United States, Canada, London, Australia. It was really awesome to see how far that this reached.
As somebody who's worked on a lot of things, is there a common thread or just one thing that really determines the success or validity or something being good? Does that make sense?
I wish I knew the formula.
Because people say a lot of it's down to writing, right? If the writing is shit, everything else, you can't really build around that.
If something's bad before you make it. or you know if like something has a chance. Like I read some scripts and I'll be like, man, how is this getting made? But at the end of the day, making movies is really hard. And there's so many moving pieces. And yes, you need the script to be great. But you also need a director with a great vision, because that's the person who's kind of controlling the tone. And then, casting such a huge piece of it. Then while you're shooting it, there's a million fires that that are being put out at all times. I think some of the things that I've seen that really show through is if you're making a comedy, everybody needs to be having a good time, and that really shows through. And you can tell a drama versus a comedy. Comedy's pretty black and white. It's either funny or it isn't. And sometimes you think something's hilarious on set and it doesn't cut together as well. And sometimes you think you're missing something on set and it actually ends up cutting together very well. And that's also the magic of editing. Editing's such a huge part. Anyone can be good, any actor can be good, and any actor can be bad, depending on the people around them, the editor. Writing's a big piece. I mean, from what you said just at the beginning, even auditioning, if the writing is bad, I find it really difficult to memorize the lines. It just doesn't feel natural. I mean, like medical jargon or something, that's its own beast, just because it's not what you do, and those are very much like you're just memorizing terms and words. But if the dialogue feels clunky or not natural, it can be really tough to memorize, and then you're reaching for the words instead of being in the scene, and that's kind of its own problem.
I get that, right? Like if it's unnatural, you have to then think about, it doesn't flow the way it should.
Mm-hmm.
There is something about Upload, though, that balances this line of like both a comedy and a drama. Like it both has deep emotion, yet it is laugh out loud funny.
Yeah, Greg Daniels, who created the show, he always talked about it as like kind of a genre stew. It's sci-fi, it's comedy, it's drama, it's satire. It's got a little bit of everything, and he's one of the few people I've worked with who can really walk that line very well. And a big thing before we started shooting, even before we started shooting the pilot, he wanted people to know the tone of the scene you were in, and whether it was a scene that was supposed to be funny, whether you were the character in the scene who was supposed to be funny. Like a lot of times in Upload, I'm playing the straight guy, and that's okay because the other people around me are being very funny. I get to be the audience sometimes, which is actually very fun and makes my job a little easier. I get to kind of watch everybody do their thing. But his big thing was like really knowing when and how to hit the different moments and which scene you were in, which version of the show you were in at that time.
I want to really get into the actual, I want to get into like where we left off in season 3 and where we're going into season 4.
Okay.
But I do want to know, like, you mentioned like initial vision. Like, what was the initial vision of the show as it was communicated to you when you first started this? By the way, like at this point, 8 years ago, right? 9 years ago?
So Greg actually thought up this show. Oh my God.
Like when he worked for SNL.
Yeah. In like the 90s, I would say. Like, how long ago was he on SNL? But
this is like pretty much pre-internet at the time.
He said he thought about it when thinking about it was either CDs or like floppy disks. We're going back that long. The young people won't even know what that is who are listening. But he thought about putting your consciousness on something like that, and it just snowballed from there. He originally wrote it as a sketch on SNL, or thought about it and it wasn't working. Then he wrote it as a short story, then he wrote it as a novel, and then I think he wrote it as a movie, and then eventually it was a pilot. And everybody always thought it was too out there and too futuristic, and now it's like barely keeping up with what's happening in the world.
That's crazy.
But I went in for my first audition, and I had read the pilot, and pilots are really hard because it's like, we're going to tell you what this world is. We're going to introduce you to these characters. We want you to care about them, and we also want it to be funny. So for anybody listening out there, give a show more than one episode. I always like to give a show 3 episodes. If it hasn't got me after 3 episodes, then somebody else needs to tell me if it's really worth sticking to. But give a show 3 episodes, because a pilot, you just have so much to do, especially in something that you're world building, that you just kind of have to give it a chance. So I read the pilot, and then Greg had me cold read a couple scenes from episodes 2 and episodes 3. And I was getting a little bit more of an idea of what the show is, but he just kind of sat me down and like walked me through what he pictured, and at its core, he wanted the show to be a love story between these 2 people and then 3 people, and kind of how
And
they
now 4, I guess?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, well, I don't know if he planned on there being 2 Nathans at that point. That may have been later, but he's so good at creating these beautiful relationships between characters, and we've seen that from his work in the past. This one just happens to also have a sci-fi twist to it.
By the way, Greg Daniels, King of the Hill, Parks and Rec, The Simpsons.
Yeah. The Office.
Adapted The Office over here.
He's a genius. His son Owen plays AI Guy on the show, and is also one of the writers on the show, who writes some of my favorite episodes. Greg could easily be an asshole because he's so talented, he's so smart, and he's so funny, and he's the opposite. He is the nicest guy. He has no ego, which is crazy. And he's super collaborative, and he was really, the captain of the ship, and everybody loved him, and everybody was always excited to hear what the next season was about or what the next scripts were about. He would bring the whole cast into the writer's room to talk about what we thought, and he's just, I can't say enough great things about him.
That, as somebody who's worked on, how many shows do you even know off the top of your head?
No, I like to say I'm Snap famous at this point, because I've done so much stuff, but like I'm not known for one thing. People are like, I know you from, and then I have to play that game of
Scooby-Doo.
Like, sure, let me do this. I can normally pick it off based on like age, look. Like there's just certain things I can go with where I am in the world, but. Upload is my airport show. Like it's people from all over the place. It's crazy. There'll be like, I have people that don't speak English, and they'll be like, upload. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, picture? I'm like, sure. And they'll be flying off to somewhere, and I'm like, oh, that's cool that, Amazon, it reaches everywhere. But, I have no idea how many things I've been in. I've been very lucky, and I've had a great time working with incredible people.
So, where do we leave off in season 3?
So at the end of season 3, by the way, a lot of people don't know there's a season 3. We were just at Comic-Con, and season 3 came out during the strike, so we weren't allowed to promote it. So we were at Comic-Con, and a bunch of people were like, when's season 3? And I'm like, I got great news. Go home. It's on Prime Video right now. Season 4 comes out August 25th. So
this is genuinely the best news, because I love when I'm getting ready to prepare myself for a new season of something. I sometimes go back and watch the last 2 episodes, but to know that you now have a whole season.
That's what I said to people. I'm like, because the final season it's a 4-part, series finale event. It's about 2.5 hours worth of show. So it's like we get a big, huge movie to end it. And it's great. It's an action-packed 2.5 hours. But I was telling people, I'm like, look, you've got, the 3rd season, I think, is 8 episodes. So I'm like, you got 12 episodes to go home and watch.
It's the right amount.
But so the season 3 ends with one of the Nathans being wiped out. So you don't know if it's real life Nathan. You don't know if it's Nora's Nathan or Ingrid's Nathan.
There's 2 Nathans out in there in the world. And by the way, the whole theme, like the themes of this entire show, it is deep. Like if you really think about it.
Oh yeah.
This idea that we die and we can upload our consciousness, but so much of it is attached to how much money we have to essentially keep paying to stay alive. And
yeah, it's kind of gross. It's like a cell phone plan, which is so smart. And everything in this world comes down to being a business and money, or at least almost everything does. And that people would be capitalizing on this because that's the world that we live in, and that's why Greg is so smart and funny. And I think that's what makes this so relatable and easy to watch because it feels like something that could totally happen. And Greg does a ton of research with the writing team before every season, and they try and get stuff that's just on the cusp of being real. And the only downside to that is, between the time we wrap a season to when it comes out is normally about 9 months to a year. And a lot of times in those 9 months to a year, these things start to happen. And now it looks like the show is matching the real world, where really they came up with it first and they put it in the show, but it just happens to pop off earlier.
Again, like imagine you're living in a world where you pass away for whatever reason, and there's a certain window of time for your loved ones to make a decision to upload your consciousness or not. And then with that comes like a whole financial tie, and it's like you end up buying your environment. And
when they introduced the 2 gigs and the division of wealth, I was like, oh my goodness, this is nuts.
But then they're also like selling advertisements within your own experience.
Yeah. It's wild. It's probably too accurate at times. People are like, oh, this is very Black Mirror, but Greg does such a good job of balancing the gross realism with like the really fun goofiness and humor that the show has.
What's it like going into a final season of a show knowing it's going to be the final season? Because not everybody gets that opportunity.
Yeah, it's definitely bittersweet, but like you said, most people don't get that. A lot of times you kind of get canceled in between seasons, and our show, every 1, 2, and 3 have huge cliffhangers, and nobody wants to end a show on a cliffhanger, especially in the world of streaming that we live in now, where like, it used to be you just watch whatever episode of TV is on that day, but now people are really watching it much more linear, and it's nice to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Also, knowing it's a final season, like Greg was able to end it in a way where everybody gets their moment. I think it's really special. Like our final table read, everybody's getting emotional, and it's nice to have that closure with a show. I mean, it was only 4 seasons and 29 episodes, but it was 7. It was across the 7 years, because it was like we dealt with a full regime change at Prime Video. We dealt with COVID. We dealt with strikes. Like there were a lot of things that just delayed shooting, and so I think Allegra and I were both 29 when we booked it, and we're both 37 now. I know. I mean, and we're not supposed to age, so I watched some of season 1. I'm like, ooh, all right. Well, if you binge watch this show, you'd be like, they fucking aged.
I mean, this has to be a project that you worked on the longest.
Yeah, I think it's the longest running Amazon show as far as time, not as far as like how many seasons. And it's definitely the longest I've worked on something. Not close anywhere else.
Did you take anything with you from the upload set?
Not a lot. I took one of the little like watches. They're like the hand phone things, but it's really just like an empty Fitbit pretty much. But I took one of those for my mantle.
Do the little
my hand phone. Greg was talking about how production mailed him a box of stuff, and one of them is my head that they like sculpted for one of the episodes. He's like, "Do you want it?" I'm like, I don't know if I want that.
Why? I mean, if not you, like, wouldn't you? I'm so sorry. If my head existed out there in the world, I'd want it for like safety.
I think my wife would be like, "We're not keeping this."
Yeah, but wouldn't you be nervous that what somebody else could do with it?
I don't know. Greg has one. Also, like at this point, we're so close to like being able to 3D print one, no problem, in such high definition, won't matter.
Okay, real dark, very dark. By the way, you met your wife on set.
Yes,
American Pie.
American Pie. The 9,000th American Pie movie.
Beta House.
Yeah, that was that movie's really special to me. That movie gave me. I had done one pilot season in LA, and I had done well enough to screen test for things, but you don't get paid to screen test. So I was running out of money, and I went back to Toronto to see family for a couple weeks in the summer, and I booked that job, and it gave me the ability to keep working. And I met. I had 2 best men at my wedding. I met one of my best men. I met my wife. I met my roommate for 5 years in LA. it was just an incredible experience.
Have you given serious thought to the idea of actually uploading your consciousness? Would you do it?
Season one, that was like our main question, like on our press tour, was like, would you do it? And, you know, my big thing is, if it's you die or you upload, I would upload. And then once I was sick of whatever that is,
You die?
then I die. So it's really just like an in-between, if you will, where it's like, okay, you know, at this age, I'm only 37. I would like a lot more time with my friends and my family. If I'm terminally ill and they're like, hey, you can upload, then I'll take that, and I'll take whatever version of that is with friends and family. And then we'll see how that goes and whether it sticks. And at a certain point, I'll find out what's next.
Interesting. When the money runs out, you know?
Yeah.
When they milk you dry.
I think there was something in season 1 that people often talk about, like, would you do it? And you got to watch your own funeral.
That was pretty wild. That was one of those first episodes. There were a couple moments on the show where I was like, oh, we're making something pretty cool. In episode 1, in the pilot, where I'm peeing and the pee goes right down the urinal hole, and like no matter where I move, I was like, oh, we're making a weird show. This is wild. And that clip, actually, somebody showed me, it went viral on TikTok. It had like 30 million views or something of me just peeing in a urinal. Great music choice, by the way, too. And then my funeral, I was like, just the way it was shot with the two-way glass, or whatever you call it, we had this thing set up where it was like, it was built to look like it was a screen and we were on both sides, but it was really just a piece of glass separating these two rooms that they built with lighting to make it look like they were very separate, which was very impressive. And I was just that was a huge day of filming. We did the entire funeral in one day. And that was just one of those cool moments where I was like, oh, I've never seen this before. Mm-hmm. This is something new and something fresh. And that's hard these days.
This whole show is that.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched it already, you should. And if you have watched it, there's a season 3 waiting for you. There's a season 4 too.
Speaking of my funeral, if you make it to my funeral, you'll know if you're into the show or not. I think that's kind of what I give people as the pilots are tough. Watch the pilot, figure out what the show's about. Watch episode 2. I think episode 3 is my funeral. If you make it through my funeral and you're like, this isn't for me, that's fine. But most people watch my funeral, and at that point they're like, what is happening in this show? And they're hooked. I think it's weird enough. I think the show has a ton of charm. Andy's character in the first season is just like so easy to root for. Allegra's character goes on the biggest like arc of any character on the show from season 1 to season 4. I think her character growth is really interesting to watch, and she's so amazing as a person, which is why I think she gets away with saying the horrible things that she says on the show. But yeah, I think the show's super fun. The last thing I want this to do is sound egotistical, but I love our show. I love being a part of it. If I didn't book it, I would have been really pissed off, and I probably would have watched it and hate watched it. But but like I love the cast. I loved getting scripts for it and finding out where the show was going to go and what the hell was happening this season. And I'm just a big fan of the show and the people that are on it.
How hard has it been to say goodbye to Nathan?
I never felt like the character is so written in the way I speak, the way I think. Like the first time I hate cold reads, and I went in with Greg and I read a few scenes, and he had me cold read, I think it was 2 or 3 scenes from other episodes. And I picked them up immediately. Like the character is just written in my voice to a point where it never felt like I was playing a character. I was just playing a version of myself as Nathan. So I never felt like I was saying goodbye to it. With that being said, on the final day, my final scene, I knew that Andy and Allegra wanted to say some words, and they had prepared something, and I was like, I'm just going to say something real quick before Andy and Allegra, and I immediately got choked up, and I didn't expect to, and I was like, oh no. And part of it was because I was looking around, and we had a lot of the same crew for all 4 seasons in Vancouver. They all loved the show. They would read the scripts, and because like I've been on shows where people are happy to have the job and they're very great to work with, but like this show, everyone on the crew would read the script and come in and be talking about what weird thing we were shooting that day and how they got to go home to their husband or wife or their kids or their friends and tell them about that weird thing that they shot today. And that was just really special. And I guess it didn't really dawn on me that it was over until I tried to say goodbye to the cast and the crew. And that's when it kind of hit. But I don't know. Maybe because I was so worried we wouldn't get a final season that I was just so relieved that we got to actually end the show in a great way.
It's a great show.
Thank you.
I found the show during COVID. I've stuck with it ever since.
Thank you.
It's worth your time and energy. Watch it. Link below. Or just go to like Amazon.com/zachsang show. There's a link there.
There we go.
What are you thinking?
Nothing. I was just like, when we were doing prep, I was wondering why I couldn't find anything on season 3. Like, there's no recap videos, there's no press, and I was like, what happened? And like, you answered it. It's like,
it was
you just
just
couldn't.
bad timing. Yeah, it was bad time. It was during the strike. We wish we could have, and I'm hoping what that final season does is it brings people back to the show, and they go, oh, season 3.
Yeah.
Hop back in, watch it, and then you get a series finale. There's no giant cliffhanger. There is closure. I thought Greg did such a great job of giving everybody their moment, and and anyone who's never seen the show, they get a beginning and a middle and an end, and they get to find it.
Genuinely, in my humble opinion, the best way to consume something. So go. Enjoy. I was surprised, and maybe, why am I surprised? True Jackson VP went for 40 episodes.
Over 2 years.
That's
2 years, 40 episodes.
That's
7
why
years,
I'm-
29 episodes.
By the way, I think that's why I'm surprised.
Yes.
Because the reality is that was the network getting you guys, because what they would do is probably extend a season or whatever.
It was.
That's crazy.
There's a couple reasons. One is kids shows, they can bang out really quickly. Second, it was multi-camera. So it was like table read Monday, rehearse Tuesday, Wednesday, pre-shoot Thursday, live tape Friday, studio audience. Amazing. Best job in the world. I didn't know how great I had it. But like, they just bang out the script so fast. You have a huge writing team. I don't want to say it's less stress because it's a kids show, but it's not as under a microscope from critics. It's not as like, I don't want to say it's the quality doesn't matter, because that's not true. It has to be good, but you're making the show for a certain audience, and like kids are easier to, how do I say this the right way? Like, I don't know. I guess you can make more episodes faster for a kids show. And the other thing is, after two seasons, there's a pay increase. So they were like, well, here's your first season. I think the first season was, did you look it up? It was 40 episodes total?
40 altogether.
So I think it was 16, and then we got 24.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I think they were like, we're just going to give you a huge second season, and that'll be it.
It's not 40?
No, I'm just shaking my head
No.
because like that's their way of getting around having to pay.
Pretty
you.
much. That's kind of what it felt like.
They've also done it where they like extend it. Like they'll do a second season for like X amount of episodes, I've heard. And then like they'll go, okay, well, you've done 22 or 24, but we're going to increase it by like 12. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's just a longer second
Just add on a back 12, which makes no sense.
But they've
Yeah.
done that before.
I'm trying to remember. I thought it was more than
Wait. This says season 1, 25 episodes, season 2, 18, and then it says season 3, 13.
okay. For True Jackson?
Yeah.
Okay. So 40 sounded low to me. I think the first season was 20.
It says 25.
Okay. And then I think this, by the way, there was definitely no third season.
So
it
I don't
was
know
two
what-
seasons that
We're just,
it was 2 seasons combined into 1 season. So I think it was 24 and 36 or something crazy like
that's-
that. It might have been 60 episodes in two years.
what was that like doing it in front of a live studio audience? Like, how many times could you go back and retry something?
It depends on the joke. When a joke's hitting in front of a live audience, there's no better feeling in the world. When it's not, it's tough. But the writers always had backups planned, like a bunch of alternate jokes. The toughest job in the world is that audience wrangler. This guy has to be hopped up on so much caffeine because he's keeping the kids going. A live audience taping starts at like 6 p.m. and it goes to like 10 p.m. And these kids, like, he's flinging out candy to all the kids. Like, you're winning prizes in between each scene. He's doing like sing-alongs and stuff. Yeah. Wild job. But, I mean, you load 250, 300 kids into this like small gallery to watch us shoot, and it was awesome.
Is it more pressure or less pressure on you as a performer?
It's like a mix between film and theater. And the adrenaline you get from the live audience is great, but after you do it a couple times, and the way the lighting's built, they kind of fade into the background. But the sound of a laugh, or like the first time I grew up, I loved watching Fresh Prince. It was like one of my favorite shows. And, the audience reactions were always really great. The ooh and that type of stuff. And I remember the first time Kiki and I had like even the slightest bit of a romantic moment, the whole audience was like, ooh. And I was like, I had to try so hard not to jump out of the moment because I grew up watching these things. That was very cool. That was just a kind of a surreal moment to be on the other side of that.
Beyond one of the most iconic shows to ever exist on Nickelodeon. Like really
super fun.
I mean, inspiring, so funny.
Yeah.
So real.
We had an incredible director, Gary Halverson, who he did like 50 episodes of Friends, 2.5 Men, like huge multi-camera comedies. Andy Gordon, who created the show, came from Frasier and Back to You, but he wanted to make something his kids would like. And then Kiki was coming off of, I think, Akilah and the Bee at that point. Like, she was a huge star, and she was amazing. She just carried the show. She was so fun to work with. The whole cast was great.
Kiki, Ashley, Greg Proops.
I mean, I loved Whose Line Is It Anyway, and like working with Greg was wicked. Guy's a genius.
That show is genuinely underrated, in my humble opinion, in
Super
the Nickelodeon universe, and deserves more respect and love. Go back and watch it. Stream it. Sure, you can stream it on Paramount Plus or Netflix.
For sure.
It's out there.
When does the Duff come into all this?
The Duff was...
You wanted to ask about this.
The Duff was...
Duff's great.
Thank you. The Duff was right after the Tomorrow People. I went in for a general with CBS Films, and they brought up the movie. And my wife was a huge fan of She's All That. And I was like, okay, it's got some She's All That. And I read it, and the character was there wasn't much of a redeeming quality about him at that point. I'm like, this guy's just kind of a dick. And I don't know. And I had a great conversation with the producers, and they're like, no, we want him to, like, you have to cheer for him by the end of the movie. And I was like, this movie is super reliant on whoever you get to play Bianca. And they were like, we think we have Mae Whitman. And I was like, if you have Mae Whitman, I want to do this movie. So I ended up screen testing with Mae, and my goal was just to make her laugh. And we had this great chemistry session, and I got her to laugh with some improv, and I ended up being the guy. And she is spectacular. She's hilarious. She's so good. And she was so smart because she knew that a movie called The Designated Ugly Fat Friend can go south really fast. Mm-hmm. And it's easy for people to be like, man, screw this movie. And she was so aware of that, and she did such a great job of riding the line of like humor, serious when it needs to be, having a good message, because the movie's really about the opposite of that. It's about not putting somebody in a box and having this self-confidence, but not for those reasons, or not for aesthetic reasons, and that everybody has a Duff. And she was brilliant. She was so fantastic.
There's still like this pocket of the internet that really wants a sequel.
Really?
Yeah. Would you ever want to retouch that? I mean, how do you feel about like sequels and like?
I mean, I would do a sequel. I mean, I've been in a ton of sequels. I've been in reboots. I'm like, sometimes sometimes it just takes the right person with the right vision and to come along and be like, oh, this would work. The Duff, I don't know what that sequel would be, but I mean, if the right thing came along, I would do anything with May. She's fantastic. But I mean, we're both a little older than high school at this point. I was old for high school at that point.
Have you been surprised by the success of any of your projects?
All of them. I'm surprised when they're successful. I'm surprised when they're not. There's no. I wish there was a formula to it, or I knew what that formula was. I think, again, so much of it comes down to luck. I think passion and people really caring about it. And then, I think lately something being different, because there's so many outlets now and there's so many things fighting for your eyeballs, whether it's, your phone, YouTube, whichever streaming service, hopefully going to the theaters for something, video games, like you name it. But I don't know. I think I'm always surprised, and I never know how something's going to do.
Do you feel like you were one of the best Freds to ever play Fred in Scooby-Doo?
I guess I'm technically one of the only Freds to ever do it. I love those movies. My son, I have a 5-year-old little boy, and he's just getting to the age where I can show him some of the stuff that I did that skews a little younger. And
Scooby all day.
Yeah, I thought those Brian Levant directed. And he's a giant kid in the best way. He's like, he directed the Flintstones movie as well, the live action. He was awesome. He was a great guy. He really cared about making a movie for kids that they would love, that like parents wouldn't want to rip their eyes out. And I thought he did a great job. My son's best friend, his older brother just watched The Mystery Begins recently, and he loved it, which was very cool to hear, because I mean, those were some of my first movies that I booked as well. That was a huge deal for me, chemistry reading and, the idea of playing some iconic character.
What is that process like for you? How do you prepare for that, even compared to something that's net new?
Terrifying. The screen testing process is terrifying. I don't think it ever won't be. My first ever screen test was for a pilot, and the audition process is like, you go in. There's normally like a casting director, a camera, and a reader. This is the level 1 audition. You read. If you move on to the next level, they're like, great, you're coming in for a producer session. You go in, it's the same room. There's normally 2 or 3 other people. They'll maybe have some notes. It's a little more, I wouldn't say it's a little more casual, but it's a little more like you can try things out and be adjusted. When you get to that chemistry, or not that chemistry level, but that screen testing level, it used to be this horrible room that was like a movie theater. I remember I went to CBS to screen test for this thing, and they walked me into this movie theater, and I walked down, and it's like a stage, or a theatrical stage. You've got a spotlight on you, there's a camera and a reader, and then there's a sea of darkness, but it's like 40 people sitting in these chairs, and you don't know who any of them are. They're not supposed to give you any feedback. They're not supposed to laugh. They're not supposed, it was horrifying. I remember I looked down to see if you could see my heart beating through my chest, like if my shirt was rising off my chest. And you feel like you can't screw up. Like if you mess up a line, that's it. Like it's very stiff. They have changed since then. Now it's normally like a camera, the director or the producer. You work on it, you make sure you get a great take, and then that gets sent to the people who are supposed to watch it, because that's much more the process of shooting a movie or a TV show anyway. You're almost never doing something in front of it's much more theater, the old screen testing process. And that was terrifying. Chemistry reads I actually like, because normally you can play off the other person and have fun, and you're finding it and trying to do this kind of this dance.
Is there room for interpretation when you take on Fred? No, right? Or you?
I mean, I was super young and I didn't have a ton of say, but it was more like Brian, the director, who was awesome, and let's keep this about the character, but this is the younger version of, so maybe he's finding his way through this, or it's more of just creating a relatable version of the character that people can see themselves in.
What was it like working with a fake Scooby-Doo?
Oh man, I've
Was it
done
just
so much of that. Like
a green sky and a green
a
screen
lot of
thing?
times, rarely. Sometimes you have that, but like so was the dog in Code 8 Part 2. We had a guy in a blue suit, and then we had like a fake dog that we would walk through, and then it was. You never know what you're getting with visual effects. It's a little crazy, but like sometimes it's just an arm with a tennis ball on it.
You got to act to a tennis ball.
Yeah, and you're like, that's Scooby's face. So
It was just a tennis
luck.
ball? Was that real?
yeah, sometimes.
Oh.
Yeah.
What about the dog therapist in Upload? Is that a real dog?
That is a real dog.
And it was actually talking to you?
Not really talking. They're like, Greg would normally come over and be like, hey, this is what the mouth's going to look like when it's, and he would have like an iPad that visual effects gave him a temp, version of it. And we're like, oh, that looks pretty good. But a lot of visual effects is just being a kid playing make-believe and just like knowing that the people in charge and the visual effects company handling it will make sure that you don't look silly.
Race walkers.
Oh yeah.
Sick.
Race walking.
You learn how to race walk?
Yeah, I got trained for race walking by by the Canadian Olympic bronze medalist.
Sick.
Yeah, Evan Dunphy. We reached out to him. He was like, we were like, do you want to come? The movie's small. It's not a big budget, but we were like, he's from Vancouver. We were like, we'd love to have you out here, be a part of the movie.
Can you break down race walking though? Because it is a serious sport and it is taken seriously.
It's a lot of hips. Well, so the sport is super silly. It looks super silly. Everybody knows that. So we didn't want to punch down. We were like, okay, it looks silly. Take it seriously, and it'll be even funnier. And Evan, who's a great guy, he was like, we know it looks silly, but we do it. And this is what I do for a living. And he's great. He works with like young hockey teams and young sports teams. He'll go out and they'll do a race walking day and he'll have fun. And he's like, yeah, it's funny. Everybody's laughing, but we're having a great time. He's got no ego about it. But don't get me wrong. These guys fly. They fly. They do, they used to be, oh God, I'm going to screw up the numbers on the races. There used to be a longer race, but now it's only a smaller race. I believe it's a 20K. And if they entered the Boston Marathon as race walkers, they would finish like top 20.
Whoa.
What?
They are flying. I didn't realize that until I did the movie. I didn't realize they were such long distance like walks. These guys are moving so fast. We were shooting and we all thought we were moving pretty good. It was literally like me, Kevin Clayton, who plays the other lead, who is another hockey player out of Toronto. I had a couple buddies who came out. One of them used to run track in college. One of them, hockey player, and we all thought we were pretty athletic, and we thought we were moving pretty good. And we were like, Evan, show us a little speed. And he's like, all right, you guys go ahead. So we walk, and we're doing our hips and swang, and then all we hear is like, and he just goes flying past us. And you've never seen people get so hyped over somebody race walking. But the movie's a ton of fun. The movie has a very Ted Lasso feel to it. Underdog story. It's very funny. I like to say it's Happy Gilmore meets Cool Runnings set in the world of race walking. And very cool writer-director duo, Kevin and Phil, who are also the stars of the movie. And we went to Slam Dance, and we won the audience or the grand jury prize.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool. Super fun.
Race walking.
Race walking.
Very cool. It's a real sport.
We were when we were training. My son, who was 4 at the time, he started doing his race walk with his hips, and one of the trainers who used to coach the Canadian national team, he was like, "What do you think? You want to be a race walker?" He goes, "Nope." Hockey's cooler. And I was like, all right, sorry.
Seriously, watch Upload. It's waiting for you. It's on Prime Video. It's so good. It's genuinely beyond worth your time. Go to season 3, watch to the end, or even just start from the very beginning. It's all there. Link below. You good?
Yep.
Really appreciate your time today.
Hey, thank you. Good to see you again.
Yeah, great.
Now that we're both old.
Literally, it's been 16 years.
But you're still doing this. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
That's huge. Longevity is like, I feel like that's the king of this business.
Amen. Thank you for getting it. We'll celebrate. Yeah, we're like at 18 years or something. Close
That's
to 20.
awesome.
Yeah. It's nuts. It's nuts. Anyway, really watch Upload. It's worth your time and energy. You're iconic.
Oh, please.
Thanks for
I'm
being
just
here.
happy to be here.
No, please. You very special.
Oh, thank you.
Life with Derek, True Jackson VP, fucking Scooby-Doo, man. Robbie Amell, everybody. Thanks.